Achilles, I'll leave it over to you to get us started.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you everyone for joining. If you've been an exhibitor at IMEX before, this is a great opportunity to find out how to, well, as the title says, win more leads at IMEX and other trade shows like Ciara pointed out earlier. If you're new to IMEX, again, thank you so much for joining. We are really happy to see exhibitors being proactive and joining this kind of webinar. So for you, all of you who don't know Ciara, a lot of you will, but for those that you don't, Ciara is the author of Steps to Win in the Meetings Market. She's an author and speaker at industry events worldwide, and we've got great feedback from other exhibitors that have told us Ciara's tips have had direct impact on their show success. So please grab a pen, grab a coffee, download the workbook link that I posted right at the top of this chat, and join the conversation. So yeah, Ciara, over to you.
Well, it's great to see the conversation has already started in the chat box, and it's lovely to see the wide selection of people. A warm welcome to you. And as Achilles said, you know what? Congratulations. Congratulations for taking this step to want to upskill and learn a lot more about how to win more leads, because it's changing out there. Our industry is changing so fast, and if we're doing what we were doing even a few years ago, we're going to lose out, and our competitors are going to start winning business. So this is a very practical, really practical session on how to win more leads, how to prepare, very importantly, for the show. Okay, so we're going to dive right in, and at all stages, please feel free to ask any questions. Okay, so quick, real easy one. What other shows are you attending this year? Because there's a lot of very interesting shows out there. So just let us know what other shows you're attending there. Type it in the chat box. Okay, what we're going to cover, what to prepare. It's critical to prepare for this show. If you think that it's enough to just pay your money and show up, it's not. You're going to lose out on a lot of opportunities. So you need to have a strategy, and you need to start preparing now. We're going to look at how to attract more of the right kind of buyers to your booth, okay? It's key. You want more of the right kind of buyers. And I'm going to review a few IMEX descriptions and email invites. A lot of people sent me in stuff. I didn't have time to do all of them, but it's the same type of tips that would apply to you. Very important in the selling world today, how to stand out and sound different. That's my specialty. That's what I show so many people how to do in the hotel world, in the CVB world, in the agency world, how to really get into the head of your buyer, think like them in order to be more relevant and win a lot more leads. And I'm going to show you how Dawn here got 20 appointments set up for her first time exhibiting at the trade show. And I also want to give you an opportunity to win a free place on my master class that I'm running for IMEX on how to win a lot more leads. And what is involved is participating and asking plenty of questions and sharing some of your knowledge, because you know what, there's a lot of knowledge on this webinar too, and I recognize your expertise in what you do. So let's share, and we'll all be able to help each other out also. And I'm going to show you and give you some information. And if you want to get to that next level, if you want to go deeper on what I'm talking about today, how you can do that with me, because we have an hour. It's not enough time to cover everything. And if you really want to be top of your game, let's connect. But for the moment, let me take you back to July of last year, when my good friend Andy just got home from work and literally just sat down on the couch and his pager went off. He is works a volunteer for the Royal Coast Guard, and it had been reported that 2 canoeists didn't come back that evening. They were expected back before this. So they were out on the open seas. So gear on and off, Andy was leading his team. And, you know, it was around dusk time, so it's a dangerous time for people to be out on the open sea. Within about 5 minutes, they did connect with the first canoeist, and he was in a panicked state because the last time he saw his friend had capsized. So now the situation was there was somebody in the water, much harder to find, in freezing cold water, and again, night was falling. So they made sure the first guy was safe and then headed out. Now, what can happen in the open sea like that is you can think you see somebody and it's not. It might be a seal, it could be some debris. So they had a few you know, missed calls, and they were circling and circling. They were in the area where the friend saw him last, and Andy was coming to that stage where he had to make a call. He had to either call off the search, which he knew could cost this man's life, bring his team back, get them home safely, and call out the helicopter, or he could do one more thing. And this is what he did. He turned off the engines. And they listened. And there was silence for about 30 seconds. And then he heard the faint whistle. And the canoeist had a whistle. And they went in that direction, and they found him, and they saved him, and brought everybody home safely. But the point here, guys, is that sometimes we need to turn off the noise in order to really tune in and listen to ourselves, but also listen to what's going on around us. Because as you know, there's a lot going on in our world. Your office might be pretty crazy right now. Somebody might be trying to get your attention. You might be tempted to check your emails right now, but please don't. Please just give this hour so that you can focus in and pick up the tips. Because if we're trying to do two things at the same time, we're going to miss something, okay? We also sent out a workbook. Achilles posted it there. It's in the link right at the very top of the chat box, and that'll help you to really focus in and get the most. We want this to be a productive use of your time. So, quick question, guys. What would make you not want to exhibit at a trade show again? Right? We've all had certain experiences, perhaps at trade shows, and it maybe you're a first timer. And what is it you definitely want to avoid? Share that with us in the chat box. Because one thing that I've learned from Dov Gordon, he's a great marketeer, is that the most powerful skill that you can develop really is to make people interested in you. And at some stage in the buyer's experience, we need to be getting to this stage, right? The major problem that I see in the industry right now is that the buyer is not believing you. Why? Because I feel there's a lot of commoditization that's happened in our industry. A lot of pitches are starting to sound the same. A lot of marketing is the same. A lot of descriptions on websites are all the same. And it's forcing really the client to make a decision based on rate. And that is a really big hurdle that I help a lot of my clients to get over, because yes, budget is really, really important, but there's a lot more there that we need to be skilled enough to uncover. And having that all important face-to-face time at IMEX really is going to help you to start the relationship on the right path. And what I like to show people how to do is to really position yourself as that partner instead of the supplier. A lot of people from conversation, from correspondence beforehand, from brochures, from wording on website, they don't mean to, but indirectly position yourself as a supplier. We want to position ourselves as that partner. Why? Because you're going to win, and it's going to be a lot more lucrative for you also. And we need to carve out, and what helps us to do this is to carve out a more authentic message and a more believable message. And of course, a quick and easy way to do that is to focus in on client testimonials, because your future clients are believing other clients and what other people who have had an experience with your company are saying. Now, as always, guys, questions, feel free to type them in the chat box there. And if we don't get to them all, I will get back to you afterwards. Okay, so Michael, hello to Michael in California. He was the first in to email me looking for a review of this. And my immediate comment is you have some good stuff down here, Michael. And so I would bring a lot of what you have down here when you're talking about the mission and your belief and your core, what's really important to you. I would put that up here, okay? Because everybody starts off their description saying you're a DMC, how many years of experience you have, blah, blah, blah. That's what the client is hearing and reading, blah, 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 because everybody says that. So, right, I want really to know what you can do for me, what makes you different, what is, you know, what is the important, what would be the difference between working with you and somebody else. So move a lot of this stuff when you're talking about the power of gathering, bringing people together, bringing people, similar minds together. That's going to attract somebody who that is really at the core of their event. So move that up here. What we want to do is put together a description that's going to attract the kind of people that are interested in working with you, that like your ethics, that like what your company stands for, but most importantly, that you can show them what it is that you can do. How better off are they going to be after they've done some work with you? So leave that 1996, all of that kind of stuff, world-class operations, blah, blah, blah. Leave that towards the end, or else, you know, take it out altogether, because they can see down here that you're a DMC, okay? So this is an example of a good destination one. It's not perfect, but what I like is that there's a lot of authenticity coming through. So it's named one of the best cities to visit by Rough Guides. So immediately, you know, that's a testimony from, you know, a good travel review company. And one of the best places to live by the Sunday Times. That immediately says a lot about a destination, more than, you know, that you can say. So so that I think is a good, strong start. And it's fast becoming one of the UK's leading conference and business event destinations. That's important, right? You're putting it out there immediately, mass market, corporate stuff, attracting people who have that business. And of course, how easy you're making it for people to get there. That's quite important. I might put what Bristol is known for a little bit up closer, but I think with an CVB, with a convention bureau, you know, you're mentioning a wide range of hotels and accommodation, all of that early on. I might put some more numbers in terms of how many room nights, that kind of thing, to immediately attract an association that said, look, we have to have 2,000 bed nights, whatever. You don't want to attract somebody who has 10,000 bed nights, because you'd never be able to accommodate it, right? So, so I think that helps. My friends in Russia, how are you? What I wanted to point out to you is, yes, it's the same thing here. You see, you're telling me all about your business. So you're established since 2003, you're fully licensed DMC. You know, I'm assuming that because you're at IMEX that you have all of those credentials. And again, it says here that you're a DMC company. So tell me more about what's special about you, or what do your clients say about you? You have to remember, this is like a tweet. You have only, is it 140 characters or 200 and something characters here, where you have to make a difference. And your photography, while, you know, it really represents the different cities beautifully, I love to see some photography of happy people in here too, because people relate to that straight away, and they're thinking, oh, I want my people looking and happy and smiling, and that kind of thing. Okay, make sure also that the photographs are bright. This is a good, clear photograph, but quite a few of the hotels and some of the destinations profiles that I have been on, they've some of the photos are dark and you only have a small window here for a photograph, so make sure that it's light so that you can see it. You don't want people squinting. And then, you know, you click in here and let me see, I can actually go into it on the website now so that you can see that. But this is quite representative of a lot of the profiles that I was on, guys. Maybe people don't have them complete yet, but your future buyer is searching right now, so I would get this done. So these are our friends in Russia, right? So you have the contact details. That's perfect, but you have 0 in events, 0 in press releases, and 0 in videos. And so you're really only utilizing about 60 or you're about 40% of the profile that you're paying for, because these other tabs here are empty. So fill them up, put in an event, you know, say it's a party every day at the stand in at your stand, the stand G360, right? Or maybe you're, you know, serving something every day at 4 o'clock. Make it up, whatever, put it in here, make sure that it is happening. Press release, there has to be so many different press releases. If you don't have one for yourself, find one from the wider Russian country, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, whatever that may be, and videos. I think it was Khalid, somebody from Egypt, had a question about videos. So Achilles, how many videos does this support here? Do you know? At least 1, perhaps 2, but if you can put up a video, do, because videos are very believable, right?
Yes, so IMEX, you can have 1 video per profile.
Okay, Grant. Okay. So Michael, my DMC friend from California, I know you had asked me other questions and I'll answer them a little bit later too. Okay. And
I just want to give some context there, because what Ciara is talking about, of course, applies to all trade shows. Specifically for IMEX, though, the exhibitor directory is where most of your appointments will be made from. So all these tips that Ciara is giving you right now, they are absolutely vital. The exhibitor directory is so important. I can't stress that enough. So obviously, Ciara is giving you a lot of examples here, so see how you can adapt all these tips into your own directory and make it an appointment-making machine, really.
Yeah, and that is it. That's the beauty of IMEX, that it is your opportunity. This is your shop window, and it's vital that you get it right. A lot of people underestimate the power of some of this. Some of what I'm sharing is basic, but what I've discovered is even when we're in the industry for years, we stop doing the basics, and clients judge us on how well we do the basics. So what I teach is how to do the basics brilliantly, because if you don't get that right, you're not going to get to the next step, and you're being judged on this. And you might end up receiving an RFP, but it's just so that they can compare you to somebody else, and you don't want to be attracting those kind of leads. Okay, so the emails, what emails are you sending out? So Amir here, she emailed me that she's been exhibiting for the last number of years, but found that she's having a lower level of success, right? And wondering what advice can I give? So you might find that that's happening in your world right now, and I hear that definitely from clients. They're working harder and harder, but perhaps doing a lot of the same stuff. And so I say, stop. We have to do things different, because the buyer has changed the way that they buy, and what you got away with doing a number of years ago just isn't going to work anymore. So I asked Amir to send me the email that she's sending out to try and gain some appointments, and this was it. So what I'd like, guys, is what is your impression of this? What you know, if you received this, what are you thinking? What does it say to you? Okay. I'll just give you a minute to read some of that out.
Responses, generally the consensus is too much text. Yeah, people are saying too much text, too much info.
Yeah.
It's too long. Yeah.
Absolutely. That is my first impression. I may not reply, but what I would think is, even if I had, some business for that part of the world, I think, wow, if I make an appointment, I'm going to have to sit and listen to a pitch for the full 20 minutes, right? And nobody wants to listen to a pitch anymore, right? You have to earn the right to pitch. But what I recommend is, let's start with getting a conversation, and let's make this about opening up the conversation. Okay, so immediate observations, it needs personalization. It needs a bit more personalization to your market. It should be an invitation to a conversation. And I encourage you to speak to your target audience. You would use a different type of wording, perhaps for associations and for corporate meetings and incentive meetings. So try to niche it down. Don't try to send a big blast, a big general email hoping that you're going to catch everybody. I recommend that you niche down and make certain emails directly to certain types of clients, right? So I asked Amir, who do they want to speak to? What is an ideal piece of business for them? What's a profitable piece of business? And they're interested in certain knowledge industries, in the dairy and veterinary, science, geosciences, and so speak to these kind of organizations. Speak and let them know that your area has this kind of specialty knowledge. That's very important to translate. Okay, so Amir did listen, did make the changes, and had the best IMEX ever. Okay, really key here, guys. Don't be a generalist, be more of a specialist. So Sandra emailed me this, and this is the first impression when you land on the IMEX profile. And again, I think that we're losing opportunity here, Sandra, that this is kind of a description of the hotel. And what I feel would be stronger is to speak more to a specific corporate client. I believe would be your market, because you have meeting facilities for up to 90 people. So I would niche it down more as to who that is and what is compelling to them. And some proof. What is it that your clients are saying? You have only a short amount of room here to really get them to want to click on details and find out that little bit more about you. So I need it to be more compelling here. Okay. So Khalid here had a question about videos. So we've answered that. Yes, you can put in a video. So Stephanie exhibited last year, and I just love sharing this because I thought it was very smart. Yes, it's 1 a.m. There in Australia. So she sent me in this. So this is her way of engaging and showing a little bit of personality about their company. And I thought it's such a smart thing to do, making a laugh and showing the difference between Australian and English, and English. And she gave a little bit of a dictionary there. So, immediately you're warming to Stephanie, right? And like, oh, I'd like to meet her. And Stephanie, I did some work with Stephanie, and this was her first time to exhibit. I spoke to her on the second day, the morning of the second day. She had already been asked for 5 proposals, which is excellent, which is really, really excellent. Okay. And she was delighted with that because they were the right kind of clients also. Okay, so well done there. So there's detail here that I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of photographs with no people in them, and that definitely doesn't mean personality or warmth to me also. And it's just a lot of kind of regular information there about the property, but nothing that's really making it stand out and sound different to me. The same here, you know, you can see the pattern here, guys. People talking about how old they are, how much experience they have, and it's not engaging enough. It's not really compelling. On the main page, I think it is important definitely to help attract more of the right kind of leads, you know, to tell me a bit more about how many rooms there are at the venue, all of that kind of thing, and how we can help get attendees to your event. That's more compelling to me, instead of saying, you know, we have a convenient location. So quick tips, guys, for all of you. Speak the language of your client. Figure out what's compelling, what's interesting to them. Do a little bit of research in advance. And questions to ask yourself, right? This is important in your research, so that you're clear on who you need to speak to. What do you want to attract most at this show, right? What type of business? Don't tell me everything, right? Because if you go in there saying, I want to speak to everybody, anybody who has business for Asia, that's too general. I need to zone you in a little bit more. Who is an ideal client for your business, your hotel, your convention bureau, or your type of technology? And a good way to figure that out is, what was the best business you won last year? What is your most profitable piece of business? Figure that out, and then you're able to, a lot easier to find at least 10 more pieces of business like that. But you need to niche down, and you need to be particular going into these shows, because you're not going to be happy coming home with a lead for 20 people that's worth $5,000, right? You're not going to be happy with that. So you need to be clear first, and that's your most important role right now. So language that does not help you to stand out is language that everybody's using. And these are words that I've taken from a lot of different profiles. Conveniently located. You're selling yourself short there. You need to expand on what that really means to the client. Exceeding expectations. Memorable experience. I hear that all the time. It's in all the brochures. It's in all the website descriptions. Leading DMC, a one-stop shop. Founded in 1996. We're the third largest hotel group in Europe, and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, this is not helping you to stand out. This is commoditizing your business. And I think this is a really wonderful phrase from Jim Rohn. Don't look for it to get easier. Look for you to get better. We all need to get better in what we do. I'm a lifelong learner. I love it. I absolutely love it. But every time I learn something, I realize how much more there is to learn, okay? So I'm not here to overwhelm you, but let's focus in, let's take some of these and action them, because that's the only way that we're going to get results. Because it's not about how you want to sell anymore. It's about how the planner wants to buy, okay? How the buyer wants to buy, because they've changed. And social selling has changed the game. Nobody wants to listen to a pitch anymore. Once you have got their interest, once they see that you are genuine, that you really understand their business, that you are relevant to them, then they will give you that time. But we need to earn that first, and we need to get there first, okay? The part of the brain that makes a decision doesn't understand price or facts. It understands how you make it feel, right? And that's biology. That's biology telling us that. Price and facts, it makes up maybe about 10% of the decision-making process. How well we tap into the emotions behind the sale and really nail and get the client to tell us what's most important, that's when you really start winning on a different level and having much better conversations with clients and more fun in our job. Yes, you know, in all the training that I do with sales teams in the hospitality industry, they'll tell me that a big reason that they lose business is because of price. Yet I used to be on the buyer's side. I'm a hotelier by heart, and then I moved to the buyer's side 15 years ago. And then I realized that it was very rare that the client came to me and said, look, Ciara, I'm only going to make a decision based on price. You have to figure out what is number two, what's number three, what else is important. I'm not saying that budget is not important. I know it is, but there are other factors also. And when I was writing my book and in research for it, the great thing was people are very happy to answer your questions once they know that it's for a book. And buyers would say to me that the only reason that they would make a decision based on rate is if they didn't see the difference between one venue over the next, between one service or one agency over the next, or one destination or technology company. So it's up to you to really differentiate. And when I was writing the book, this is the clarity that came out of me, and this is what I teach across the world in my online mastermind programs and in my sales workshops. So number one, it's about how to stand out and sound different, and how to really make ourselves relevant to the client. Number two, we need to build the right sales toolkit, one that's going to attract more of the right kind of buyers, because that's what they're using every day to help them make a decision. And a really important tool is writing proposals that win. Okay, it's such an important tool, it gets its very own step. Then what I've discovered is about 80% of leads are lost in these first three steps. So this is what we need to get right first before we move on. Number four is about focusing in on a healthy sales funnel and driving a profitable one. So what are the profitable pieces of business? And strategies around being clear and going out and finding those right leads. A wow site inspection, a site tour, the show around, it's such a wonderful opportunity in our industry, and it's really quite unique to our industry. When I was on the buying side, I was in a lot of average site tours, right? And it really feels almost like a waste of your time. You're disappointed when that happens. So it's about putting the wow into it consistently every time. Word of mouth marketing, repeat clients and referrals, that's all wonderful when that happens. But we need to get all of these steps right before we can get to there. Okay. So I'm going to take a break talking and just ask you a few questions to help you get clear on your expectations for IMEX. What are your monetary goals? Is there, a magic number that you would love to achieve in terms of business converted? Do you have an idea of the number of leads that you would like to attract? Walk away with, and the number of meaningful connections. And this is really important part for you to think through this, the number of meaningful connections. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to type that in the chat box. How's the chat box going, Akila? Is anything in particular there?
Yeah, lots of activity. There are a few questions coming in that relate pretty specifically to exhibitor situation here. If I could summarize most of the questions coming in, it would be this one. Will you show us examples how the profile should look like? What is a so-called perfect profile? I mean, if I may say, I don't think we can generalize that way by saying there is one thing that is a perfect profile. The perfect profile is really something that transparently and clearly describes what you do and targets the clients that you want to see, essentially. So taking all of Ciara's tips, see how you can incorporate them into your own directory and bring through your own personality and your own identity.
Absolutely, and I did give an example there of a good one that I picked out. This takes time, folks. This isn't something that can be done in an hour. It takes time to really think it through and get the profile right. So play around with different words. Observe the words that your clients use and what they're saying about you, and use that. And I will tell you later on, I'm running a masterclass on this, on how to do this when we've more time to go into it, because it takes time to get this right, but it really pays off once you get it right. Okay, so what are the expectations that you're seeing there in the chat box, Achilles?
Okay, so there's a huge variety here. So the first one, which is very interesting, is the answer is I don't know what is realistic for the first time attendee. Then we have a few responses that have specific numbers. So 15 leads, 30 connections, or 20 leads. People are saying want to get people interested in our brand. An event confirmed for 10K minimum, 15 leads, meaningful relationships. Someone saying we don't know any exact number, but for us, the most important is the number of leads and meaningful connections. Okay. So a big variety there.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make sure that they're realistic, because we did have someone on, I think it was last year, and it was their first time, and they wanted to make 70 meaningful connections. And that, I would say, is over realistic. It's not possible in your first time at IMEX. And what I've seen, I've been going to IMEX now for a few years, and what I love and what I see is that you can see the relationships as they develop over the years. And I'm having a different experience at IMEX, and I'm just, walking around. I'm having a different experience because I get to know more and more people every day or every year. And you see a lot of, oh, hello, how are you? And hugs. And, I'm seeing that on the stands, and that's lovely. So, the IMEX is, while it's a big family, that there is a community there for sure, and people in our industry, I feel the need to see you a few times in order to be taking you more seriously. Would you agree, Achilles?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And sorry, while we're talking, there's more comments coming in.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Achilles. Yeah, you go.
Yeah, there was a particular comment here that I wanted to read, but I lost it because we actually had a huge flurry of comments. So please continue, and I will find it. I'll mention it later.
Okay. But I definitely see this. Like my first time going into IMEX Frankfurt, I was struck by the roar of energy. It was immediately, wow, a blast of conversation. And I could feel the energy. It was like arriving to New York or somewhere in downtown Manhattan. But you can see that people are connecting. We've met before. And you will get to that stage if it's your first show. But I'm saying, I want you to be realistic. Don't go there thinking you're going to make 70 meaningful connections. That you can't do that in 3 days. I would say those 20 to 30 numbers are pretty good, 20 probably, and then over the years, of course, it's going to be an awful lot more. My aim would be to get a second meeting. And I think that would be key. That's a really big thing to walk away with, to get a few second meetings, because you only have a short amount of time there in your allotted buyer's time. And for you to make the impression that somebody says, you know what, we need more time. Let's jump on a call in 2 weeks' time and I can go through this in more detail. That to me is a success, right? That to me is a success. So, what's achievable? Getting a calendar appointment set up, make sure you get it set up in the calendar, your follow-up phone conversations to occur within a few weeks of the event. That's a good outcome. And Eduardo here, he's a guy I met on Twitter, actually, and we met in person at IMEX for the first time, and we've been in touch for years, and I researched or interviewed him for my book. But I spoke to him about these kind of shows. Eduardo is the head of Maritz Travel for the South America regions, right? So he's in the industry years, and Maritz Travel, as you know, very significant player in the industry. And he said, look, Ciara, people are there to find the relationships that they need before they need them. So there will be people who are there to research, who may not have a lead right now, and don't be disappointed. You know, our first time exhibitors, don't be disappointed. It doesn't mean that it will never turn into a piece of business. So just know that you're always been judged, and they're estimating, okay, is this the kind of person that I would like to work with? And they know that there could easily be something that will come up for them, but they want to know that when that piece of business comes across their desk, you know what, I met Sandra from Stockholm, that's who I'm going to call. Right? And you want to make that kind of impression. And so much of my time in my work with clients is spent on building trust and how to really build trust effectively with clients before, during, and after. Because it's the difference between a sale and no sale. How much or how little your next client or your next best client, how much they're going to spend with you. So it's a key element to get right. And a lot of salespeople in our rush tend to skip it and try and go straight for the sale. And that's when we lose it. At these shows, there's an awful lot of information. It can be overwhelming is probably too strong a word, but there's a lot going on, right? And in an average day, our brain is subjected to 174 newspapers of data a day, right? Then you add IMEX onto that, where there's 3 days of a lot of appointments and hearing a lot of pitches and a lot of information been thrown at you. So you really have to stand out and try not to throw more information at people, because it starts to go over their head and they forget it, because our brain just can't remember everything, right? And I spent a little bit of time with Blair in preparing her for one of these types of shows. And we briefed together a lot on the questions, the question and the conversation technique, which is key. And she had clients say to her, thank you for not reciting your property information and being genuinely interested in me and in my business, right? And that's a really good impression to make, because she got a lot of second appointments. And there's a great lady in the industry, and she speaks on the topic of competition. And she makes this analogy of, it's like dating. You know, if you go on a date with somebody and they spend all their time talking about themselves, do you want to have a second date with them? No, right? You kind of want to get out of there, and that can be the same in a business scenario. So let's focus on building trust, and a really key objective in my mind is to build better business relationships, because you have a much stronger foundation in place then. What can happen is that we can end up building a leaky sales funnel, and then we have, leads that are no good, that are just going to waste your time, and that can be annoying. And on the topic of how you're attracting people to your stand, to your booth, be careful of what you offer. I have seen some big stands who had a lot of money offer some really lucrative prizes. And really what they effectively did was they got a lot of people there who wanted to win that prize, but who didn't and weren't the right kind of fit for their business, right? And you don't want to gather 1,000 sales leads, and it's just, there's maybe 50 of them that are the right ones for your business, because that's just soul destroying for everybody. And where I'd like to see the conversation turn in this industry is talking about the investment versus cost and price. And again, my work with a lot of hotels and agencies, they're talking about cost and price and budget, whereas we can turn that around and let's talk about the investment. This is happening in our industry. You will see the education at IMEX. There's a lot of talk now about meeting design, right? And not about a conference room that fits 300 people. And that's a wonderful thing that's really changed so much in our industry in the last number of years. It's designing experiences rather than just, planning a meeting, so to speak. So a few quick tips here, guys. What to prepare before the event. You get a list of attendees, so to speak, through your profile, right? There's going to be other webinars on how to use the buyers list. Isn't that correct? Excuse me.
Yeah, that's correct. So starting from next week, the appointments will be live, and all of you will have access to the Contact the Buyer tools that allows you to create a list of buyers according to your own specifications and criteria. And you'll be able to send them a message through this tool. And you're right about the webinars as well. We have webinars on Tuesday and Wednesday next week covering exactly how you can use these tools.
Yeah, so attend those and really get to know how you can connect effectively with people beforehand. I will give you a few more tips on that. But for other shows, you can ask for a list of attendees, so at least you can connect with them on LinkedIn beforehand. And that's a really key issue here, I think, is even if you have an appointment set up, connect, start the relationship, start the conversation before you get there, so that at least you feel as if some of the getting to know you is already done. And when people sit down, they're like, oh, hey, and you're just fast forwarding the relationship a little bit. Most people are there to do serious business. They're investing their time and they don't want to waste it. So you can help them to be more productive also, right? So use the tools that IMEX have put in place for you to connect with them beforehand. Use your database. Let your database know that you're going to be there. You don't know if they're going to be there or not, but it's a good excuse to reach out and talk to them. LinkedIn is fabulous. LinkedIn is a wonderful way. You can get the photograph of the person, start that conversation. And this is what is going to be going through with Achilles and his colleagues in the next few webinars, how to really zone in and focus in on who you want to start conversations with. So Michael from our DMC in California, you had asked, how could we start the pre-show conversation with buyers who made an appointment with us? So, reach out to them, ask them, what are their expectations? What do they need to walk away from your meeting with? Some of them might be there to research. Some of them might have a serious piece of business. You want to know that in advance and start that conversation. And then you were asked a great question about how to start that conversation with buyers we are interested in. So Achilles and his team, they're going to show you how to use those tools in the next week or two. But you need to be super clear who you want to have a conversation with. It's not everybody. It's not every type of business, okay? Now, this was also a really important one, Michael, that you asked. How do you end a conversation if you know the buyer's expectation can't be fulfilled by us? Then, you're using your filters. You might have figured that out before you get to IMEX. If so, recommend. The best way is to recommend them to somebody else, hand them on to somebody else. And if you can get a brief beforehand, even better, so that you can go through that and you can know realistically if you're the right person. If not, recommend them to somebody you know, or research that this person is going to be on the stand. I recommend that you meet with them, but try and also shake hands with them in person when there. How you deal with somebody who may not be the right fit, and you're saying here they're just sitting at your booth to meet this requirement of a certain amount of appointments. That is a very relevant conversation to have. It does happen at times. Hopefully it's not going to happen too many times. But I think also the best way that you can handle this is in trying to filter them out beforehand. And what I say is always continue the conversation in a very business-like format. And I had a conversation with somebody recently at a conference where there was a marketplace and this kind of, pre-appointments made. And I spoke with the buyer, and it was her first time there. And I asked her, she had 12 appointments that day. I asked her, did anybody really stand out for you? And she said, Ciara, this is my first time. And I was really surprised by the questioning technique it was a lot of hotels, by some of the hotels. And they just fired questions at me, and they really were only interested in talking with me if I had a piece of business, a conference that would fit their property. And if I didn't, it's like they didn't want to speak to me anymore. And she was so surprised that she was spoken to in that manner. So yes, I understand that qualification questions help you to figure out things, but she talks to other people, right? You don't know where that person or who they're going to talk to next. They could go around the corner, they're sitting in the coffee shop for the posted buyers, and they start talking about their experience. Or maybe somebody will say, you know what, I'm looking for a DMC in California. I haven't met anybody yet. Oh, you know what, I just had a great conversation with Michael. He was lovely. I don't have business for him, but here's his card. That kind of thing happens all the time. Or maybe that person is one of many in their organization and will recommend you to a colleague. So just be careful, even if you figure out fairly early that they're not a right fit, how you handle that, and introducing them to somebody else is a very good way to do that. And Achilles, what was your recommendations on this also?
Yes, I mean, generally I agree with absolutely everything you said. So I imagine a lot of exhibitors are under pressure to get immediate leads or immediate conversions. But sometimes you just need to build a sales pipeline, and you need to find that long-term client, and just building this connection like Ciara described at this stage. Even if you're not going to get business from them now and they have you in mind and they remember you fondly, that has a lot of value in it. So maybe that's something for people to consider when you're thinking about your return on the investment. Maybe part of that investment should be future leads, someone that you feel that could be a lead in the future. And I think, and I'm so glad you said, if it's someone, let's say you can't help, you can recommend them someone else. That someone else can be a competitor, right? And I think buyers, especially nowadays, would really appreciate something like that. And buyers do talk to each other. So I think people just really value that honesty and transparency from people. And it's almost, for a lot of buyers, it's almost unexpected sometimes.
Yeah, in my venue finding days, I used to do that a lot, and that kind of thing definitely comes back. Okay, but I understand you're coming a long way from California, so the work that you do beforehand is going to help you to filter them out. Okay, so yes, this is it. So your pre-show guidance, send them some communication, ask them, have you a particular event in mind that you want to talk about, or is it a research meeting? And when I was at IMEX last year also, I met with some buyers, and one, again, was a first-time buyer, and she said, I told her that I'd do this kind of a webinar, and she said, you know what, I would love one for myself, because I'm here a day and a half, and I realized that I didn't prepare enough for this show, and that I needed to, I could have put together my brief, I could have put together a profile of myself and sent that to the people that I have appointments set up with, and that would have saved her a lot of time. So if you're helping them to do that, if you're helping them to prepare for the show, that says so much about your business, because that is how you're immediately communicating how you help them in your business, how you're going to prepare them for an event, and how you're going to guide them in helping to run an event with them. Okay, so this was another email that was sent to me. Again, I feel it's a bit too long. You're telling me you're selling Georgia too much to me already. And I really would prefer to make it shorter and really just open up the conversation and ask, let's have a conversation so we can figure out if we're a good fit for each other, right? I spend a lot of time working with clients on getting together their killer question checklist. And by that, I don't mean it's a big list of questions that you fire at clients. It's a conversation frame, and it's how to lead the conversation. It's a technique that I figured out myself and learned about 5 or 6 years ago, and it completely changed my business. And it works really, really effectively at these trade shows. So there's many factors that affect, and influence a client's decision when it comes to choosing a venue for their event. One of the most important is the confidence that person has in your ability to understand their exact requirements. So you have to get the client talking, right? The better quality questions we ask, the better quality answers we get. And that's going to be really, really important to your success. And Lara here from Microsoft, who runs a lot of events, said, I know by the questions I'm asked if they're going to understand me and my event and deliver the event as planned, right? Very powerful stuff. I feel so strongly that in this industry, we have to stop the dates, rates, and space conversation, because everybody is having that conversation and you're commoditizing yourself, your brand, and the brand of your business, right? We have to stand out by having more compelling conversations. And it pays off immediately once you have your team trained in how to do this, right? Focus on building advocates, not prospects, by standing out, because a great pitch is about opening up the conversation, not closing the deal, right? So prepare some answers that you might get at networking events. There's a lot of networking events, right, Achilles? There's a lot of parties that happen. And naturally, people might ask, what do you do? So you're going to say, I'm a salesperson for X hotel in whatever destination, or are you going to say something that's more compelling that really gets the person to say, oh, interesting, tell me more, or how do you do that, right? Prepare in advance. What other events have they run? Check out their social media. Be able to compliment them the minute they sit down and talk and show that you've done your proof or your research, right? Social proof is testimonials. Have some believable stuff there, maybe some videos from existing clients, because they believe that. Simple thing here on the name badge, for all the shows, it's usually your name is really, really small. I recommend having a big name there, right? Especially, if you go to other shows, maybe you've met some people last year and you're at a networking event, like, oh, there's that person, I met them last year. What's her name? What's her name? And they may not come up to you because they're like, I should know her name and I don't know it. But if you have your name big and bold, oh yeah, Ciara, and they can read it from a distance, you're making it easier for people to come up and say hello to you. Know their industry lingo. People in the pharmaceutical industry speak different language than in the finance and in the tech industry, so know it. Show the bit of personality of your business. I showed you Stephanie's example from Australia. They're fantastic. Be conscious of what you wear. That's me in the middle there, right? But look, these were the only people on the Japan stand who wore the traditional dress, the kimono. The Irish girls in their green stilettos. So have cards with, I think with your photo on it, it really helps, because they're meeting again a lot of people. Dress in something that distinguishes you. Consider color, and sometimes I like to wear a flower or something that again just helps people to comment and start a conversation with you. Dawn here, she attended the webinar, and I said, bring a little bit of the personality of you and your property. She represents a property that's on a race course, so she came dressed for the races. And I thought it was fabulous. And she had people walking up to her saying, where are you from? And they wanted to speak with her. So she got a lot of appointments when people were just walking past the stand also. And the next year she was trying to figure out how does she make it even better. So she came dressed like a jockey, right? Again, it was a showstopper. People wanted to talk to her and it helped make it a lot more successful. Our LinkedIn social selling index, guys, in our industry, you can Google how to figure this out for yourself. Mine is in the high 70s. It should be over 70 to be a lot more relevant on LinkedIn. But I checked out what's the LinkedIn, the social selling profile of most people in our industry. It's 24, right? That means it's really low. You should be ranking in the top 1% of your industry if you're over 70 in it. So there's a big opportunity here to really position yourself and your expertise. Connect with people beforehand, connect with me, start following the IMEX group and the social team now and see what you can do. Stand outside your stand. It's as if, if you're from a property or a business, you'd be outside to welcome them. You'd be up in the lobby, right? Stand outside to welcome them when you're expecting them. Join in the conversation online. Attend the education sessions. It's a great way to just connect, see what is of interest, what are the problems that some of your clients have, and to just get conversations started. Be aware of phone activity and how much you're doing this on the stand, because you have potential people walking right past you, okay? Feet. This is it's a small detail, but your feet will be so sore at IMEX, right? You're standing for 3 days, or the buyer is walking around for 3 days. And this is a tip that a physiotherapist gave me. If you have a tennis ball and you just rub that every so often on the sole of your foot, it helps to massage out the foot, which will relieve a lot of the tension. Your clients, when they sit down, they could be aching, right? Talk about the tennis ball, leave it under the table. If they want to do that, great, but you do that for yourself also, and make sure you're really hydrated. You might be having a few drinks in the evening, but during the day when you're talking so much like I am now, make sure that you have plenty of water. Hang out in the education sessions. Position yourself as that partner rather than the supplier. Number one rule of networking: do not sell. No one goes to a networking event to buy something, right? Have a bit of fun, enjoy it. And if you feel it's somebody you should have another conversation with, suggest that. May we have a cup of coffee, get an appointment, get a phone appointment, whatever, in a week or two time, right? A lot of people in our industry are genuinely shy. And so you might see them, kind of standing in the corner. A lot of people be on the phone because, I can look busy here if I'm on the phone. Walk up to them, act like a guest, or a host rather, sorry. Act like a host rather than a guest, okay? And that could be the best person, the best contact you've ever made. Know what's your exit strategy. A good exit strategy, if you get caught talking to somebody who, they're just talking to you for the sake of it and it's never going to go anywhere, introduce them to somebody else, okay? Always agree your next step. Know your next step. If you want to speak further with them, suggest that, try and get that in the calendar. And follow up in a very meaningful way. So this is a quick summary here, guys, okay? So we're coming to the end. Last point here is look at the tools. Look at the tools that you're preparing, that you're going to bring to IMEX, because they will help to get you there quicker. So they're looking now at your description, at your website. They're reading reviews about your company. They're asking around, what are you doing to make sure that you're going to stand out now? Because they do not care about your business. They care about their problems. And we want to make sure that we're able to focus in on that. Roxanne here, very experienced DMC in the industry, operating in it for 25 years. And, she recognized that what she was doing was not working as well anymore. We did some work together before IMEX, and she said, Ciara, I followed your steps and I won. She did the whole way through, right through how to write the proposal, and it won. Think like your customer, guys. Having great conversations, that is the new lead. And I'd urge you to focus in on your conversation style, before IMEX and prepare for that. So what, guys, are you going to do different as a result of the last hour that we've spent? Instead of a long to-do list, what if you had a short make it happen list? And I'd urge you to look back over your notes and, you know, what is the one thing that you're busy, right? What is one thing that you're definitely going to action either today or tomorrow as a result of what you've heard on the call here today? And if you can think about that and write it in the box, that would be really great. Okay, I'm going to review, take a look back over, you know, who was contributing, who was very active in the chat box there, and I'll reach out to you with having, you know, one place on the Steps to Win program. This is a copy of my book if you'd like to read further on that. Okay, but please, by all means, feel free to connect with myself and Achilles. I'll offer you a fast track analysis call if you're all confused and you're wondering, where do I start? Where do I start? Reach out, and Achilles, if you can post a link to my website there that they can contact me, that'd be great. Okay?
Yes, I've just posted a link so everyone can see that in the comments. I will just post it again. So yeah, if anyone wants to get in touch with Ciara, please use the conferenceconverter.com/connect link.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Anything else, guys? Is there any questions there?
So there have been quite a few questions I wasn't able to respond. Like I said earlier, it relates to a lot of their specific situations. But again, Ciara, yeah, so we can review all these questions later on and get in touch with people directly. So sorry if we didn't answer your questions, but yeah, we hope you found this useful. I know I did. Every time I listen to you, Ciara, I find out something new. So thank you so much for your time.
Great. Well, it's good to see that people are going to take some action and focus in on conversations, and of course, taking another look on your profile. That's key to do right now in the next 2 weeks. Thank you very much, folks. We have recorded today's session, so you can listen back to it.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.